Maurice and Odie. Gonna take over like Zach and Cody. Black and Snerdy is the best podcast. Gonna boom like Wile E. Coyote. Gonna meet magic, they move like they hairy. Ain't talking about mental health, no it's not scary. You know that she coming up with the astrology. Mo got a comic and that's the best policy. Maurice the goat, talking about animation cause you know. Odie she moving wavy like the boat. Watching some movies and she taking notes. Yeah, kick back, listen. Black and Snerdy have risen. Upload on a mission. 5 stars, never dissing. Black and Snerdy, ooh. Black and Snerdy, yeah. Black and Snerdy.
And welcome to another episode of the Black and Snerdy podcast. I, of course, am Mo, a.k.a. Kid Licorish.
And I'm Odie.
And today is a special kind of day, you know. Let me explain why it's special first before we get into the air horn. It's okay. No, it's fine. It's fine.
I love the air horn.
We all love the air horn. And I love that you knew exactly where the air horn is after 101 episodes of having this mixer. Anyhow, today's a special day. We have a special guest today on the Black and Snerdy podcast. This is a man who I have known for all of my life, I would say. Like, I've known him for about 35 years. Probably roughly. Maybe like a year or two, I was just like not fully aware of him or the world or how concepts work and stuff. But like once I got it, I was like, I know this guy. He's a dope individual. I'm so happy that he's here. He is my father, Maurice Licorish Sr. Welcome.
Well, thank you, son. I like to refer to you as M2.
Yes.
Thank you, Odie, for having me here in your home and on your podcast. And by the way, son, I only bought $5. I know I said it was going to be $50 for that intro, but I think we're going to have to go with the $5.
No, that's fine. You know what? That's fair. That's fair. I will take the $5. First and foremost, again, thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this. How are you feeling right now?
So look. Not to cross any boundaries, but I'm blessed for several reasons. Mm-hmm. First and foremost, I get the opportunity to participate with you and Odie in your 101st.
102nd.
Oh.
No, 101st. This is the bonus.
Oh, well, yes.
Yeah, so 101.5. There we go.
And that's what makes it even more special that I get to participate in that particular podcast, this particular podcast.
Yes.
I'm also blessed because today is my 67th birthday. And, you know, I was kind of hoping we would have gotten the Valkyrie song, you know. You know
what? I'll see if I can find that. Yeah. I'll see if I can find it.
Only because as I have belabored with my friends and my family who've known me forever, I didn't think I would make it past the age of 40. But to be celebrating 27 more years is almost like a bonus. So
yeah,
I'm truly blessed to be here.
You are spitting big facts, and when we have big facts on here, I say,
folks, where's the lie?
Well, we are very blessed to have you.
And
we're so grateful that you decided to come up from Baltimore to spend your birthday with us. So.
Have you had what has been your highlight so far of your trip, if you don't mind me asking?
Wow. So, interestingly enough, just to give some backstory, the trip purposely was to attend the giant exhibit. This is Alicia Keys and Swizz Beatz art exhibit at the Brooklyn Museum. Mm-hmm. And even though I thought about this months before, and was going to come earlier, I thought it would be a nice treat for myself to attend on my birthday. Yeah. And in conjunction with that, having you, Odie, my sister Cheryl, and one of her sons, her oldest son, Corey, attend, that I would have to say was the highlight. But wait, there's more.
Of course.
Last night, Odie prepared what has got to be one of my favorite meals.
Oh.
Well, you didn't let me finish. I was going to say of the year.
Okay, I was going to say.
I'm going to go with it because I cook for myself. So that was my favorite meal of the year. It consisted of a caprese salad. Mm-hmm. It then was followed by, and I don't know if it was I know it was salmon. Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
Salmon.
But what did the salmon, the dish have a name? Salmon
a la Odie.
Okay, salmon a la Odie. Followed by a shrimp pasta mixture that was just, in fact, I had some just a few moments ago. It was so good. So when you ask me about the highlight, I would have to say that the meal last night, because the family joined me in the meal that Odie prepared.
Yes.
So that was my highlight.
I'm so glad that we could be a part of your highlight.
Yeah.
Shout out to Odie for making that mean-ass meal.
Thank you. I try. I wanted to make sure that you were having a delicious.
You tried to make a meal and you did.
Yes, it was a shrimp and oyster seafood pasta with a truffle, tomato, and cheese sauce.
Well, you put your foot in that.
Well, and I just want to say, I didn't know all the extended ingredients, such as the truffle tomatoes, but just the fact that the shrimp and the pasta was there. And wait, the sauce was a truffle sauce? Mm-hmm. That was phenomenal. It really was. Okay. And I do want to say that, again, as background, because I don't want to just introduce stuff. Sure. So I was in the military. I had a chance to be stationed in Italy. I've had caprese salad before. Mm-hmm. That was good. That was, if you were just concocting that from a picture in a magazine, you came straight close to the original.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem.
That's fantastic. So Odie, I think you could help me with this one. Mm-hmm. Normally, in our podcast, we would bring up some topics as far as our This Must Be Pop section.
Yeah.
I think we're going to do something a little bit different in honor of our guests here. This is still kind of pop topics, right?
Yeah.
You know what? It is.
This must be.
Is it gonna have the little pop thing on there?
I will bring that up right now while you introduce the thing.
And before they introduce the thing, and while they're doing that, I just want you to know that because I am M2, that's Maurice, M2's father, I can be the pop topic.
Well, you are popular.
You are very popular.
And you have been topic of discussion many times in this home. like when is he getting here? Like
yeah, so we'll do background on that a little later on.
Traffic, but
it's the traffic. Anybody that's driven through Brooklyn, from Queens, specifically coming from Queens on the Belt Parkway and then on Linden Boulevard, that traffic is
on a Saturday that could.
Okay, so then why was that the topic of discussion? If you already know the traffic is bad.
Yeah,
but
it was a one-sided discussion.
Yes, it was.
It was mostly just one person being like, "Is traffic really that bad?"
I think that one thing that we wanted to talk about this week is a fairly recent movie that came out about a month ago, American Fiction.
Yeah, didn't American Fiction win something at the Emmys, or it was? I know it was nominated for a few categories, and I know that Jeffrey Wright lost out to Oppenheimer, dude.
It got
Cillian
Murphy, yes.
It got at
Peaky
the
Blinders.
Oscars.
At the Oscars.
Yeah, my apologies. Thank you.
This
is why I have you on here, just to correct me. Thank you.
The Oscars they won Best Adapted Screenplay.
That's what it was.
And they had some other nominees for Best Motion Picture of the Year. Like you said, Jeffrey Wright was nominated for Best Actor in a Leading Role.
Sure.
And Sterling K. Brown, Best Performance by an Actor in a Supporting Role. And, Sterling K. Brown and Jeffrey Wright were amazing in this movie. So I think that everyone who got nominated was definitely worthy of that.
They definitely showed up and showed out in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, I would say that Sterling K. Brown kind of stole the show a little bit. Like, he chewed... he kind of chewed the scenery.
Yeah, and if we think back to many of Sterling K. Brown's appearances, he has a tendency to do that.
Yeah,
he's
a great
from
actor.
This Is Us to
Yes.
I think Predator.
Yes, I was thinking about.
Predator?
Yeah, he was
in one of the Predator movies. Or it was
He was. I think it was the last one.
Really?
Yes.
The last Predator movie we watched was Predators, the one that it was like based in like
you mean
Central.
Prey?
Oh, Prey.
That's like a Predator prequel.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes,
that was
is.
actually really good too.
And
was
I
really
will
good.
also bring to your attention that he voices the character in Invincible of
yes,
Yeah.
the dude with the head. Yes.
I can't recall his name.
I didn't even know that you were into Invincible.
Your sister turned me on to that about a couple of years ago. So I find that to be interesting.
You know what? I'm gonna put a pin in this real quick, but let's make sure we circle back to that because I did want to ask you a few questions about like superhero movies and the state of which they are in.
I'm in for that conversation, but let's continue where you're going.
Yes, let's continue where we were going.
But even, everyone in the movie did amazing. Even Tracee Ellis Ross, who, spoiler alert,
Don't. For people who haven't seen American
at this
Fiction.
point, they should have seen it.
Well, hang on. Let me do this. Let me do this.
Look,
Let me do
keep
this.
it-
Can I try?
Sure.
So Odie wants to give a spoiler alert, so I'm going to temper it by saying she plays not just an impactful role, but an integral role in how the family moves forward after the first act.
Yes. And because she was only in about maybe
Yeah, she's going forward with it.
I'm
anyway.
still
It is her
spoiling.
podcast. She's still gonna do it.
You're gonna do it. Go ahead.
Spoiler alert.
Still spoiling.
Yeah.
She's in about 20 minutes of the movie. And then her character goes away.
Yes, she does.
And I thought even in the small part that she played in the movie, she still did phenomenal. We got to see Erica Alexander, who has definitely been having a resurgence recently, which I really appreciate because, she's an amazing actress. Maxine on Living Single, I think, was such an iconic character. And, I remember as a little girl watching Living Single and always being like, I'm Maxine, because she had braids. Like, we had the same hairstyle. And of course, nobody had braids on TV. Even if it was a black character, they usually had, like, a perm or something.
Right.
So seeing this strong, funny black woman lawyer living in Brooklyn was such a eye-opening experience.
She's been having a bit of a resurgence herself because she was recently in the Wu-Tang American Saga television show. She was RZA's mom, I believe. No, RZA? Yeah, she was RZA's mom.
And
did you watch that show?
I did not big Wu-Tang guy, but continue. I've
Okay,
heard
that's
about
fair.
it. It was recommended. I haven't gotten to it.
did you know that I'm on her IMDb? She was a producer on the John Lewis documentary.
Yes, she was.
Good Trouble, which I haven't seen, but I heard good things.
Yeah, I saw an interview with her.
But I didn't realize that she had worked on that. Good for her.
Yeah,
And by
she's
the
a
way,
mover and shaker.
In American Fiction, she also plays a lawyer.
Oh yes, she does. And I loved her character. She was great in that. Jeffrey Wright, of course, is an amazing actor.
He does that subtle thing where he kind of breathe talks under his breath.
And don't you get the impression that when he
So eloquently talking like this.
when he pivots to being angry, it's not the type of stereotypical, and we'll talk about stereotypes when we talk about the movie, but it's not that stereotypical black man anger. Have you noticed that in his movies?
Yeah.
He does have that silent, seething rage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's a nuanced anger, definitely.
Yes.
Like, and honestly, I am happy to see that in like, as far as like a black male portrayal. You know, so often in media we get the stereotypical version of like the angry black man, and it's over the top, and it's not over the top. It's passionate. We are passionate people, but like to see that, we can express our emotions in a myriad of ways. You know, like that. I like it when Jeffrey Wright. Whenever I see Jeffrey Wright do that.
Well, that takes us into the movie. The main theme of the movie is Jeffrey Wright plays a writer, Thelonious Monk Ellison, he's a writer, he's a professor, and he's writing very, I won't say highbrow literature, but he's just writing. Like, he's not writing a black story, he's just writing stories. And unfortunately, in media, I could say from experience that a lot of people, when they're looking at black writers, they want to get, The Cartel or, Black Girl Lost, where it's always a story of struggle, or it's a slave story, which all of these stories are necessary because these are a part telling perspectives that are happening in the community are important, regardless of whether we are, you know, proud of them or they're great depictions. However, I know from, if I'm writing from my life experience, I'm not writing from a certain perspective, and I shouldn't have to only have media that is showcasing Black people as one thing.
Yeah.
And so he gets in trouble at the beginning of the movie because he wants his students in a majority white class to read a book with nigger in the title.
Yeah.
And a white person, she does a Karen on him. And she complains.
Sorry. Are we calling it that?
She does a Karen.
She did a drive-by Karen?
She complains, I don't want. Why should I have to read this word? Why should I have to interact with it? When it's like, at the end of the day, if you're in college, there's so much content, historical content, current content that you're gonna read that is going to be distressing to you.
Yeah, any college worth their salt should be exposing you to the history of the world, and boy, oh boy, turns out
great.
It's not good.
And
there's a lot of bad things that have happened in the world, and a college worth its salt is going to expose you to all of it.
And
colonialism, slavery,
the
other dark words.
The many holocausts that we have, genocides, wars.
History is lousy with Holocaust.
There's a lot, and it's not to say that college should not be a safe space. Like, if you're in a classroom and your professor is talking about a piece of material that is problematic at its source, the issue is not the content; it's how it's being discussed, like how you're going through it and how you're understanding it. Because the point, to me, of reading things, even if they may be very different from your worldview, is to be able to dissect how other people are feeling, how other people in different time periods express themselves and view the world, because media is our best way of seeing how people were living their lives, because you can read the news and all that and see like a glimpse, but when you're watching a movie or you're reading a book, it's telling a story of that time.
Sure.
And it is important that you be able to work with it, and it doesn't mean you have to glorify it, but it's something to think about.
Right.
But he got in trouble. He got, put on a, forced leave, goes back home to Boston where his family is because he needs, a place to stay, goes to see his sister. And from there, we start seeing the more intimate side of his family life and kind of learning who he is.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a very Black middle class, upper middle class.
I mean, we knew the family was Black as fuck when you find out that what his name is. Are you kidding me?
Oh, of course.
Just off the name.
Every single Black person, Thelonious Monk, Ellison, the blackest.
Yeah, he's imagine if my name, sorry, Dad. I know
please,
you named
by
me
all
you.
means, son, go ahead.
I know you named me you, but what if you just decided to name me Martin Luther King Licorish?
Well, that's actually, I was really thinking about naming you Marcus Garvey Licorice, because he would be the OG civil rights father.
Yes, there we
that
go.
would have been good, Marcus.
So, and by the way,
I probably would have been
keep the initials.
You know.
Keep the initials in mind. Marcus Garvey, Maurice. I don't think they call you by your middle name, do they?
No, they don't. And
right,
nobody needs to. But no one needs to know that.
We see his family. They're very, well off. His family have a beautiful house. His sister's a doctor.
They have a beach house.
Which, honestly, Black people having a house in general is a amazing thing, because we know that so many of our grandparents, even if they had the money to buy a house, they would have been kept out from buying, and then thinking that they also had a summer house.
That's incredible. Sorry.
Can I add some context?
Sure.
For that particular part right there, I want to add that, remember, he traveled back to Boston, and it's an upper class black family because he lives in an upper class Boston neighborhood.
Which, I mean, Boston is...
Yes. And his father was a physician.
Mm-hmm.
So, back to you.
And think about what that black family had to endure in Boston.
Yeah.
Like...
Well, that batteries whipped at him. Oh, sorry. I'm thinking they only do that at the baseball games? Only do that at the baseball games.
Well, we don't know what they did in the neighborhoods because we didn't grow up in a Boston neighborhood.
Fair.
I may add that all of the children, Monk and his two siblings, are all doctors of some sort.
Yeah.
2 are medical doctors following in the father's footsteps, and Monk is a PhD doctor?
Yeah, because a doctor, I think it was of literature.
Right, and he attended Harvard.
Yes.
So go ahead.
And so, very learned, very accomplished.
Right, yes,
learned.
The
and
other HU.
you would... Yes.
The other.
Because more times than not, we beat them in the debate.
Yes, we do. Yes,
So
we do.
shout out to you, school communications debate team. But you would think that because he is a very learned, accomplished man, that his writing would be being lauded and, he would be having this amazing career. But we see that his most recent book that he wrote is, the recent book that he just published is basically like in the $5 section in the bookstore.
Yeah, it's under African American Studies.
It's not even about anything about black people. It's just because
about the Romans.
It's the fact that
the Romans, yes.
It's the fact that he's a black author,
Which always annoyed me when going, like, in one hand.
Yeah, that's why my mom always hated going to the Barnes and Noble in the mall. Or no, it wasn't Barnes and Noble. It
Borders?
Borders, yes. I knew it started with a B. Because the black, essentially the black section, would have like just a cavalcade. It was a small section with a cavalcade of books that, maybe they were fiction, maybe they were nonfiction, maybe it was just like a self-help book, maybe it was a cooking book by Aretha Franklin or some shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just literally just like, oh, black author, shove it in this section. Now you have 9 books to sort through.
And there are books, like, there is black media. Yes. And that has its place, but like just because yes, as a black person, anything I write is a black book, regardless of the subject matter. In the sense that I'm a black person and I'm writing it, so it's my book.
We recently were a part of a panel where we were having this discussion. Just by the nature of us being black, this is a black podcast. We could be talking about anime. We could be talking about the queen who just died not too long ago, and Lizzie in a Box and how hilarious that song is. Like, we could be talking about any number of things, but because it is coming through the prism of our perspective, it's a black thing. You know what I mean?
Shout out to you, University of Maryland, Black Podcast class.
And shout out to that one dude who bonded with me over anime and having your parents or friends walk in at the wrong time when like a very suggestive anime scene comes on, and it's just like, now I have to explain like what this is.
Excuse me, I'm the parent. I wasn't there.
Like, why is this a weird scene in Digimon?
I'm sure that had a black context to it, but I don't know what that was because this is a black podcast.
Yeah.
Continue.
But he, is dealing with these issues with his recent publications and the books he's trying to get. He's shopping around to with his agent, and he finally is just like, whatever. And it's not until he goes to he's invited to this Boston Literature Festival, and he hears like his panel is completely empty, but he finds out that there's another black author there who is played by Issa Rae.
Issa Rae.
Shout out to you, Issa. The original awkward black girl.
Issa Rae, Issa vibe.
Yes.
Issa knife.
So, and she has written this book, and it is very, written in a very stereotypical ghetto trauma porn, and folks are loving it. She reads a passage which is like the most ridiculous,
over the top story,
and she gets a standing ovation from a mostly white audience.
Yeah.
and they're just loving it, and he's just like, what the fuck? And so
okay. I didn't want to just like do the entire movie. I just wanted to hit like the major points.
Well, I think that you might have gravitated to that particular scene.
It sounds like you did.
I did.
And what was the reason that you gravitated to that scene?
Because I think that so I worked in what they call urban books, which is basically black publishing.
Yeah.
And the amount of books that I was reading from these various black authors that were about a very specific topics, whether it was drugs, sex work, trauma, abuse, and these stories were so popular. And I remember one of my jobs was to ship books out to jails and prisons. Mm-hmm. And they have very strict rules about what books could come in depending on the content. And it's like books that were about negative things, it's like, yeah, they can come in unless it was like extremely violent or extremely sexual, the books were allowed in. And it's like, these are the books we're populating around these prisons, which they had terrible grammar, terrible syntax. And
so let me interrupt. So the scene where Sintara Golden, which is the Issa Rae character, is reading that excerpt using Ebonics, triggered you. I'm just wondering because
I won't say it triggered me, but it did make the point very clearly that mainstream media does not want. They either want very trauma porn from black people, or they want like
struggle porn,
struggle porn, or they want these like black excellence, Serena Venus Williams type
there's
stories.
No middle ground.
There's no
middle.
There's no
just like, hey, like there's no friends. Well, no, there are friends living single and girlfriends,
and even like
of the black experience, and even actually, yeah, living single more than girlfriends.
Last night,
girlfriends had more like drama.
Yeah, last night I was watching Waiting to Exhale.
Yes,
I've seen this movie. I remember going with my mom and my aunt to see this movie when it came out, and watching it as a little kid and watching it now as a woman who's in that age range, I was shocked to realize and happy to realize that all these women, they were all professional women who the struggle they had was just that like they were wanting a relationship and it was difficult.
Yeah. Men.
Yeah. Which is something that's like that crosses all borders. Anybody could watch this movie and be like, I understand. And knowing that like this was one of the only movies at that time to depict black middle class women not having this sort of struggle identity, that there was no talk, like there were some components about race, but the main thing was that they are smart, they are educated, they are, working great jobs, and yet there's having issues instead of the majority of the media that I think is pushed on us of black women who are in these or black people in these terrible circumstances. Somebody always has to deal with like their child's father's absent, they can't work, they're on like they're having all these difficulties, their boyfriend's a drug dealer, and these stories are real and they should be told because there's plenty of people
but they're not the only stories.
But they're not the only stories.
Like we are not a monolith, either in ourselves or we shouldn't be a monolith within media, because like we have a myriad of stories from all walks of the black experience life that's lived.
Absolutely. And that's what brings us back to American fiction, which is what Odie was trying to bring to our attention.
Yes.
At the introduction of the family, it then begins to introduce the dysfunction.
Yes. And to me, I think that the family dysfunction was something that I think anyone, regardless of where you're from, could watch this movie and identify with it, because this family we know that their father's dead, and we find out their father, committed suicide at a few years prior. Their mom has just been living by herself, being taken care of by this love. She was one of my favorite parts in the movie. Hold on, let me find her.
While she's trying to find her, she was the live-in helper, or actually, she was the housekeeper from when the kids were children, and stayed on after the children became adults, married, and moved away to care for the mother.
Yeah, she definitely was a highlight of the movie.
Her name was Lorraine.
Yes.
And does she marry?
She's the one who marries.
Is his name Maynard?
Maynard, yeah.
And that, honestly, I want to tell you, the blackest name
the
ever.
blackest names of all time.
Oh no, Monk was the blackest name. Wait,
Monk is the affluent black name.
I'm gonna
We're talking about old school, like throwback black names.
Yeah, but you know what?
Maynard.
Come on, you've never met a white Maynard?
No.
Well, there's
Have
Maynard.
you met a
No,
white
In The
Maynard?
Simpsons, there's a Maynard character.
There's also the
I've
Maynard.
never met him, and he's yellow. That doesn't count.
There's also the Maynard
I
Institute.
haven't met them in person. I'm not walking around seeing fucking Krusty the Clown.
I'm just saying that Maynard is not the blackest name ever.
But it is an old black people name.
It is an old black people name.
I'm an old black person. I choose
Maurice
to
is an
refute
old
that, but
black
continue,
name.
please.
But honestly, their love story is the cutest,
It is.
sweetest.
It was
Yes,
sweet.
yes, it was.
I loved it. And another person who had a love story in this movie is Jeffrey Wright and Erica Alexander.
Yes.
I thought that was very interesting. It was very
Until he sabotaged it.
it, and I was I would have loved, like, when the movie ended, I was like, damn, I want more, because I would love to see how that may have played out, and it really actually made me want to read the book because this is an adaptation, and I'm gonna.
And
Find
while
the-
Odie is
find-
finding the name of the edit, I would tell you that I was drawn to American fiction for the reasons already presented, but also because I come from a family of two brothers, and a core, two brothers and a sister. And we're all, even though we are all, well, I'm retired now, but even though we all struck out into our own world, there were similar circumstances within our own family. My father, M2's grandfather, was the vice president of a local union. He was the pastor of a church. He was the founder of our community. What do they call that when you have a community? Neighborhood watch.
Neighborhood watch.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we were a
What?
prominent. Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so we were a prominent family, but we also had our own we had dysfunction within the family. Okay,
Yes.
go ahead.
The name of the book is Erasure by
Yes.
Percival Everett.
And it's a very good book. He's a very good writer.
I'm glad that this is the thing. But we need these type of stories because this book came out years ago. I had never heard of it. And now this black author who wrote a story is going to have, it's a movie, but it's opening up people to his work, and then we could have probably more really great stories because I loved this book. And if the book is any indication of what or if the movie is any indication of what the book is, I think it'll be a great read.
And I just want to add that Percival Edwards' newest book, which came out this year, he does a twist on the old Huckleberry Finn story by writing from the Jim character, and it's really fascinating in the
Inward
layers
Jim?
in which he writes. Sorry?
Inward Jim?
What?
That was his name in the book.
That was his
Oh,
name in the
well,
book.
I just knew him as-
It wasn't inward. It was the N-word.
was nigger.
Oh,
It was
I got you.
nigger
I
Jim.
got,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
but
yeah.
so he writes from Jim's perspective. And
Okay.
one of the interesting things about the new book is that when Jim is communicating with his daughter or other black folk, we speak just like we're speaking on this podcast.
Yes.
But when he speaks to white folk, he speaks like he did.
Code
Oh,
switching.
he
Yes.
code switches. He code switches.
So
yeah.
I didn't want to get too off the topic. I just wanted to give
No,
Percival a
that's
shout
fine.
out.
That's fine.
But I think these are the type of stories you want to read. Like,
These are the type of stories that deserve to be both experienced and to exist.
Yeah.
In all forms of media.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. In fact, I would like to volunteer Odie to do a podcast on her favorite author, who is also a groundbreaker breaker, Octavia Butler. You should do that in the future.
I mean, I love Octavia Butler. She is like the mother of Afrofuturism. And it's like we have now, there's so many people who are, I have so many books in my library from Black authors who are following in that same vein, but it took so long for that to happen because like I'm a big fan of Harry Potter. I wish I would have had Octavia Butler as a book to read in like my teens, because it would have been 100% up my alley. But those are not the stories we find out until years later.
This is correct. And that brings us back to American fiction, because what books were available to you? Were they similar to the ones that the Jeffrey Wright character winds up writing?
Of course, the books that I mostly grew up reading were by a lot of white, and not to say they were bad. I loved Jane.
We all love Super Fudge.
I read Iceberg
Like
Slim.
Jane Austen was like big, of course Shakespeare. Like the contemporary writers we were getting were not doing fiction for the young Black readers.
Yeah, Judy Blume wasn't targeting.
Judy Blume,
some
and these
kid
are great
in
stories. One of my favorite,
or some girl in Ronkonkoma.
Amelia Bedelia or whatever.
No,
but like
You're not gonna tell me Nancy
Wayside.
Drew, are you?
of course, Nancy Drew.
Oh my God.
The Babysitters Club.
Really?
The Boxcar Kids.
Hardy Boys.
I read Iceberg Slim. I read Chester Himes. I read
Okay.
Langston Hughes.
Thank you for
all
of the.
But some
the,
of-
I'm just
the
saying.
Black books that you read.
But some of
in
those
your, in your
books,
household.
some of those books were geared towards older people. Like
Yes.
the Black books that I got.
We're
I
talking about
remember-
as kids, though.
One-
like growing up. You weren't reading. You were not reading that as a fucking 9-year-old boy. I'm not gonna sit here and allow you to get that off on my podcast that you were.
Where did 9 come from? Why
Because
was
that-
that the
that-
We're
default
talking
age?
about the books that we were reading growing up.
The Black books that I was reading growing up were
That was the premise.
Zane.
Yes,
and
Zane novels,
Zane
of course.
and
Wasn't she a little risque?
of course she was.
Very
reading that at
risque.
9?
Very
Yeah,
risque.
not at 9, but in middle school, Zane was contraband. We would be passing it around.
Yeah.
The Sisters of APF. I remember reading it in my the desk, because remember how the science desk, they would be the lab table and it had a little box in it.
Yes.
And we'd be reading it and passing it around. Also, Sister Souljah.
Sister Souljah.
Eric Jerome Dickey, and these were now. This is the thing, Eric Jerome Dickey, Sister
Iceberg
Souljah,
Slim as a 9-year-old. I'm not.
I didn't say I read it at 9.
but
Saying who I read.
these books were the ones that were popular for older Black people,
Sure.
and it made our way to us. And there were, of course, other like Black books that were out, but a lot of them, let's say, they were about topics that were not like fun for a teen to read. So
Yeah.
you might read them and be like, okay, this is a great story, but that wasn't what's like going around. No one was making movies about it. So I think that his main issue in the movie was that we don't have any of these stories that are coming out that are true to us. So he decides to, I guess like as a prank, write a fake book
Yeah.
and or write a book under a pen name that's like super what is the word, stereotypical, and
yes.
it turns his world upside down, because all of a sudden he's getting all of these.
It becomes a popular book. Like, white people are just eating it up, nom nom nom.
They're getting he's being nominated for the awards.
He's being lauded and praised.
Everybody's trying to give him money. They want the rights, and he ends up
What was it called? My Pathology.
My Pathology,
P-A-P-A-F.
and then he switched the name to Fuck. And
Wait,
then
whoa. I think you got to give a context for that.
No.
He switches the title of
he
the
switched
book.
the title of the book to Fuck because
Yes.
the two white agents who he was talking to under the name of Stagger Lee, this like ex-convict, were being so patronizing that he was like, let me fuck with them. And he was like, oh, let's let me fuck. And they said yes. And so it goes on to be nominated for an award that he's joined on with the Issa Rae's character to review books for a literary award. And they're the only black people on the panel because, of course, they always need a token.
Yeah.
And the book
This
ends
time
up...
they got two.
And the book ends up on the award nominees table, and all the white people love it. Only him and Issa Rae are like, let's go with something else. But then it ends up winning. And you see that it's a very interesting space where, on one hand, he goes from kind of a struggling writer and not having so much money to all of a sudden being able to pay for his mother to go into, who's like getting older and sicker, to go to a nursing home and pay his bills. And like he's doing, that he, even though he hates it, he's doing all of this to be able to take care of his family,
Yes.
which I think is a accurate
There's
trope
nothing wrong
in,
with that.
I would say, black
Really?
media of
Wait, really? Nothing wrong with that? So we don't think he sold his soul?
To help
to
his
help
family?
his mother,
To help his
to
mom
help his
and
mom
help his
who's
family?
sick.
I'm asking the question.
Yeah,
You're
and-
just
and-
asking, repeating the question.
thing is-
I want to get clarity. You're
Did he
asking
sell his soul?
if there's something wrong with selling your soul to help
He
your family.
sold his
And
beliefs.
I'm saying that it's an understandable thing that can
Because it's
happen.
also a
I'm
thing-
not here to say if it's right or wrong, or if it's messed up, or if it's
because
like
in
an
my-
honorable thing.
In my mind, as the older, out of touch black man on this panel, I would tell you it's similar to the drug dealer out there that needs to hustle and sell drugs in
I
our
was
community
gonna
to pay
say.
his mother's rent, right? Or to me, it just sounds similar to the guy that's out there pimping women because everybody's
Yeah.
got to have a job. So does that justify what they do? And did it justify what he did? Does his mother being ill justify him carrying through with this charade?
I think that his mother being ill was unfortunately the catalyst and the incentive for him to do that. Like all of those things that you mentioned, people committing crimes in order to take care of their families, those things happen because of the system that we are in. Like he would have never had to decide whether or not he was going to go against his morals and his principles to publish a book that was completely false and not anything in his about his life. And if he didn't have a mother who was sick and a family to take care of,
So
and the fact that the white people who are the gatekeepers in his career would have been accepting the books that he was writing and the way he was writing. And so I think that he acquiesced and decided I can either continue with trying to get these people to publish my work in the way that works and the way that I want it to be, or I can take care of my family. Not right, but I think it's a justification, but that does not mean it wasn't bad.
So I'm just curious because it sounds like it was a noble reason to carry on the charade, to care for his mother. And yet and still, when his girlfriend got a copy of the book, which incited an argument between the two of them, he wasn't forthcoming as to he was the author and why he did it.
Well, I think he felt shame about. I think he felt shame for two reasons.
Hold on, wait, time out. I do want to point this out before because I just heard this squeal that came out of my dad's
only because
mouth.
I think this is interesting.
I think
it's
that
fascinating
I
topic.
do want to point out that like multiple things can be true and you can have
I've heard you say
multiple
this before.
feelings at the same time. Like it's not
Duality.
Yeah, there's duality within all of us and I
agree.
see some duality within this character. He could be ashamed of his thing while also using it while also saying like I have to do this in order to, care for my mom, Like multiple things can be and Jeffrey Wright plays him so well as a multifaceted character that I would say that there's a myriad of things that are probably going through his head when he's having that discussion with his girl,
it wasn't about the money and the fame and the accolades, or it was about the money, the fame, and the accolades, and caring for his family.
I think it was just for I think it was for the money. But I think it was for the money so that he could take care of. Honestly, to me, I think he felt the reason why he got so upset at Erica Alexander's character when she found out that she had read and liked the book, was that he was ashamed that he had to stoop to that level in order to get the praise he deserved. He was ashamed that he didn't feel open enough to say who it was, and he was ashamed that, like, of all the things he's ever done, this is going to be his legacy, this terrible book.
Yeah.
And I think also there was a layer of him being disappointed that she was
into it.
She was into it because he's looking at her as like, you're this progressive black woman who has all these things going for her. Why would you how could you like this book that is so demeaning to us and our culture? And it feels like you are buying into everything that these white people are buying in, and I expected better from you.
Wow.
Yeah.
And her answer to that was similar to Centaur Golden, the Issa Rae character, when he didn't confront her, but when they were having a one-on-one discussion at the trying to decide what books to award, and he basically said, hey, your book is just like this book. And she took offense to that, didn't she?
Yeah, because she said, like, it's not my fault that white people only want to read certain stories, and these stories are happening, so I'm gonna make money off them.
Right.
Because it is, on one hand, it's not that you shouldn't have stories of people who are in struggle or having to do things that others may see as, negative or criminal or whatever, to make money. But at the end of the day, those stories still happen. Most people, I would say most black people, could say,
oh my gosh,
that's the old man ring. So can you, excuse me for just a minute, continue please.
Yeah, keep
that.
Okay, good. I psychically turned that off. So
that do you want to get your phone and make sure?
I'm gonna get my phone and put it on mute.
Please get your phone.
We're wrapping up soon.
Yeah, we're wrapping up soonish.
But that, we can't, I'm not gonna not be an author and put my work out there just because white people only want to tell one story, and I'm gonna jump in, I'm gonna write, and the thing about it is sometimes that might be the way that you get into the writing world, but that doesn't mean how you have to stay. And we see so many people across, whether it's music, TV, film, literature, where they might come in and do one thing.
Take your phone with you.
I put it on mute.
Okay, gotcha.
And then they change something else because they have the popularity, and they can decide, I'm gonna write and do whatever I want. Let me look at a Beyonce. Country Carter is a country album, and Beyonce has been wanting to do this for years. It is only up until now where she feels like she can do it, because now she can do whatever she wants. But sometimes that's how you have to play it. And I think that Jeffrey Wright, I felt eye-opening for him a little bit, but I don't think that it took away from any of his internalized disappointment in himself, that he basically allowed the man to win and went against his morals just to have a book.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say.
Sorry.
I'm gonna say that was
in
good.
agreement. I didn't have anything to add. So
I thought that was so comprehensive in terms of breaking it down. There really wasn't anything to.
There wasn't anything for me.
Well, what did you think about the end of the movie?
So I'm gonna go first because I'm the older guy. So I thought it really spoke to the society and culture that we're in right now.
Yes.
That there were 3 suggested endings for the movie that was being made out of the book. The one that was acceptable was the one where the black man dies at the hands of white law enforcement in the end, which is a caricature of true society, which seems that our lives as black males, this might be too deep, but I'm going to say our lives as black males only become relevant when we lose it at the hands of authority.
Right.
All in between that, whatever our contributions are, whatever our worth is, none of that seems to matter in between the pages. How we begin doesn't matter. How we succeed in the middle doesn't matter. If we die at the hands of white authority, then we become something of note. I'll leave it there.
Folks, where's the lie?
That was a word. What about you, Maurice?
As far as the endings are concerned,
Yeah.
oh,
And you can do the whole movie if you want, but you know.
Oh, yes.
yeah, no. If you
Yes.
I had to see this movie again because I was a little sleepy when we first saw the first time.
A little bit.
So there was a good portion of the very beginning that I missed, but I watched and then I watched it again. I've seen the whole movie. I don't have anything new or very insightful to add to the discussion. The only thing that I have is that I am a firm fan of Sterling K. Brown.
Yeah.
I really do mean it when I say that he was chewing the scenery, and even as a supporting actor, I think the role that he played was very insightful and helped enhance the family element story of the entire of the entire thing.
Yes.
So shout out to him, shout out to Sterling K. Brown.
Yeah, I mean, I will say
The whole cast was great.
the whole cast was
they
great.
were. They were.
But I was
of note, Sterling K. Brown.
But I think that so my thoughts on the ending in particular was that, of course, like M1 said, the ending would have never been the proposed one where he just leaves and goes to find the woman and be like, let's get back together.
Traditional white person ending for any romantic movie.
I love you. Let's do it.
You know why they didn't go with it? Because he wasn't running through a fucking airport. That's the reason why it wasn't.
Or through the rain.
I was just about to say through the rain.
But I mean, to me, that I would have loved that of okay, this is how the story ends, because they were able to work through the issues, get back together, have this black love story or whatever. But the American media, the media in general, loves to see us die on film.
Yes.
And be able to talk about it and diagnose it and dissect it, etc.
Yeah.
But
I still think that's why Denzel Washington won his Academy
Training Day.
Award
Of
for Training
course.
Day was because he was
a thug.
a complex villain that ended up dying.
The
in the
same
end.
He wasn't
reason
complex.
why
He's a thug.
No, he was. Yeah,
But
he was complex.
black media likes us to be,
That
or
was a
white
complex
media
role.
likes us
Okay,
to be
sorry.
in the narratives that they pick, which is
Yes.
why
Yes.
Denzel won for Training Day and Halle Berry won
Yes.
for Monsters Ball. And because those are the identities that they think we do well at.
Yes,
Okay.
and pause for just a minute.
I do. No, hold on. Hold on. I need to, because we always use those two examples
Okay.
as the go-to negative portrayals of black people.
Okay.
And I don't feel comfortable with using the Halle Berry one because personally I have not seen Monsters Ball from beginning to end.
Okay, well, I've seen it.
I have
I
too.
watched it.
I have
and
too. Black women's bodies are always been sexualized.
Okay, but
she was
you've
in that.
seen the whole.
I saw the whole
What
movie.
is the story of Monsters
The story
Ball?
is that Halle Berry's husband, who actually happens to be Diddy, which is,
I forgot about that.
her husband Diddy is in prison.
Diddy.
Diddy did it, and
did it.
he was in prison on death
Diddy.
row.
Okay, sorry.
Billy Bob Thornton is
Billy
his
Bob
CO. Heath Ledger is Billy Bob Thornton's son. He's his CO also. P. Diddy is put to death. And then Halle Berry is, of course, forced to reckon with that, with her son, who has, I believe, special needs.
No, he's overweight.
He's overweight, but
He has
he's
eating problem.
overweight. He has an eating problem, but I think there was also something else going on with him. And you just see how she is dealing with that in not so great ways, dealing with the death of her husband, the issue she has with her son, and somehow she connects with Billy Bob Thornton. They start this weird relationship because he finds her son dead or dying in the street because he got hit by a car, takes her home. They have this very racy sex scene where she's just like, make me feel good.
Okay.
And
so
then they
could-
go
Black
on
women's body.
into a very race play, Jared Carmichael type rest of relationship.
Okay. Can I ask a question?
Yes, you
Outside of the sex scene, is she playing a complex and rich full character?
I
Or
think
are you saying that she only got the award because she had a sex scene
no.
with her
I think
titties
that
out?
she got the award for playing a disenfranchised, low income, toxic woman in a very racialized way, that at her having this sex scene where it wasn't like this beautiful lovemaking. It was a very like animalistic, I just need sex even though my son is just died, but I need you to make me feel good. And it was complex in some words, but compared to the other roles she's played, that wouldn't have been the same way with Training Day. Denzel was amazing in Training Day, but he was also amazing in so many other films. So why is it for this one?
Fences.
He gets it. Not for Glory, not for Malcolm X.
Oh no, he did won the he won for Glory.
Supporting.
Supporting.
But of course, and even then, what is the point of Glory? He is a enslaved person who gets beat and has one single tear for defying the massa, and that's why he that's the epitome of his role. Even though outside of that he did amazing, but still in these movies it is handpicking black trauma.
Yes, and by the way, the third alternate ending was Jeffrey Wright stepping up to the podium, accepting the award for the book, and telling his truth that he wrote the book, but they didn't like that ending. So then the second ending was he was running to make up with Coraline, which is the
That's the romantic.
The romantic
ending.
one.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they rejected that, but the ending that they went with was the one with him dying at the hands of white police officers or the FBI. Actually.
Yeah, but
So-
all in all, to me, I thought it was a great movie.
I loved it.
Yeah,
I
was a
thought
good movie.
it was a great mirror to our media landscape.
It was a good commentary on black portrayals in all media,
And-
not just literature.
And it also, I think, had a very complex black family dealing with things that I think we know happen on a regular basis. Having to wade through dysfunction, having to learn and grow out of it, having to do better and figure it out and bond, and just all the things that like any other family, regardless of your color, you could see yourself in the movie. And so I think,
I thought it humanized the black family like any typical white movie humanizes white families.
yeah, exactly.
Like, we're not perfect. We all have our
Dysfunction.
issues and dysfunctions, but that's the level of that brings out the humanity in the family.
Absolutely.
It shows that we're human, we're people with our ups and our downs, our flaws and our flavors. And I love the portrayal of the black family in this
I like
movie.
that you use the word flavors. I think that is so apropos for a day like today.
Oh yeah, I love saying flaws and flavors. That's my go-to.
Well, Maurice, how many snurds would you give this?
I would give it a 4.5 nerds.
4.5 out of 5. Okay. M1, how many?
Well, I generally will rate on a scale of 1 to 5. That's my favorite.
Sure.
Since this is my first one and I don't believe in perfection, I'm going to give it a 4.
A 4
Okay,
snurds.
4
Okay.
snurds.
I'm going to give 4.5 snurds.
Okay, 4.5 nerds. All
All
right,
right.
that sounds
All right.
good.
What's a snurd?
Hey,
Our
it's
point system.
it's
By the way, wait, before we go, 2 things, just really 2 points. Love the opening rap. I would love to just get a copy of that for my own playlist.
I will send it to you.
Shout out to Isaiah.
That was phenomenal. I
Who
loved
put
that.
that together for us.
Yes. He did.
And on the mixing board, do you have the Law and Order? Dun dun.
I you know what? I have it in my drops, but it would take too long for me.
Oh, I got it because I just think that some of the things that we talked about
could add a little bit.
Especially when we were talking. Yeah, there were several points in the podcast where we could have dropped one of those. But anyway, my pleasure to have been here, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for
being here.
Thank you all for watching, listening, and subscribing, and commenting, and sharing, and all that.
You can find us. That's in the outro. Right?
It's in the outro.
Okay. All right. Until next time. Catch you later. Oh, snap. Sorry, I didn't.
Were we not recording all the way?
No, we were recording.
Oh, okay.
We were recording.
I've done that in the past.
I just have to switch it. Anyhow, until next time, take it easy, keep it sleazy. All the Snerds.
Thanks for listening to the show. If you'd like to contact the podcast, you can reach us via email at blackandsnerdypodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at Black and Snerdy Podcast, as well as on Twitter at Black and Snerdy. You can find me, Maurice, on all social media under the handle Licorish is Legit. That's LICORISH is legit.
And you can find me on Instagram. It's ThatSOD, and on Twitter, THATSOD_E. And don't forget to like, rate, and subscribe to us. Tune in next time to the Black and Snerdy podcast, where nerds of a feather flock together.
Remember?
Bye.
Boy.
Not yet.
No, this is keeping it. We're keeping this in. Don't forget to take your meds and your subs and drink water. Bye.
Bye.
I actually want to keep that.